All right, guys, so Tuesday, I'm about to get my first training session in since I started this gaining phase. So this is going to be really interesting. If you guys listened or watched the previous video, then you heard me say that I actually was taking 3 consecutive days off before getting back to training. So what I did was Saturday was the first day of the gaining phase, so calories were significantly increased, and the idea there was to give my body a break because there was just a lot of fatigue accumulated from those weeks of dieting. And yeah, so basically the idea was to take 3 days just completely off the gym and then come back into the gym today, which is Tuesday, and go back to training, but go back to lower volume. So basically doing D-volume sessions where, just cutting the volume in half essentially, taking off a working set of each movement. So instead of going straight back from 3 days off to doing like the normal volume, the idea is, let's back off the volume, take a bit of a break. And then, by the end of the week, we'll see how things are looking and feeling. And then maybe from there, get back to doing a bit more. But yeah, that's the idea. So I'm just getting my pre-workout meal. Boring, but I got chicken and oatmeal with blueberries, some fresh blueberries. And I'm gonna actually have one of these. Boom. Most of you guys probably know what these are. I've probably had this brand of Thomas Cinnamon Raisin Bagels, so I'm about to have one of these too. Because now on training days, I'm at 500 carbs. So we're about to get some carbs in before we train, man. And another thing is check out this hoodie. This is the new custom design. Got my logo on there. And then on the back, you can see inspired by The Dark Knight. So if you guys want one of these, they're actually going to be coming out pretty soon. So we got, just as y'all saw earlier, y'all saw this one earlier, the purple one. So I got the purple one coming, as well as green and blue. Same design, just different colors, and then one different design here. It's hard to really see this. Let's see if I can zoom in. But it says, "Let the physique speak," which is a phrase I made up years ago. And then on the back, it's got a symbol, the Kenyan symbol, I say, which is actually technically called the Gaze symbol. So it's like an anime symbol, actually. And then self-belief. And yeah, these are all embroidered, and I'm excited for these to come in. They feel really good, really soft. I'm wearing a large here, but honestly, I could probably I could go for an XL. So yeah, I could definitely go for an XL. So I'm probably gonna, wear an XL in the other ones, in the other colors when I get them. But yeah, man, so we'll see how this goes. So the pre-workout of choice, just some coffee. So I haven't actually taken a pre in a while now. In the past several weeks, I've just been doing coffee before I train. And I felt like I was just starting to get, I felt like I was just starting to take too much caffeine each day, honestly. And what I was doing is I got in the routine of every training session I was taking the pre-workout. And I felt like, honestly, it was just overboard, too much caffeine. Because also, I was having coffee prior to the gym. And then, I'd take the pre and go to the gym. So I felt like I was just taking too much. So I decided, let me back off. Let me just, have coffee and go from there. So that's what I've been doing. And, I definitely don't feel as amped up during the sessions. But I really wanted to actually be a bit more calm during the sessions. A little more composed. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I may go back to adding in the pre for some of the sessions. Like, for example, this is a session, the leg session here, where I do stiff legs. Normally, I probably would, normally, or at some point, I might get back to adding it in, but this would be a good session to do that, but not for today. Since I'm doing the D-volume sessions, we're just going to stick with the coffee. So, as I mentioned, this was a D-volume session and the first session back after taking 3 full days off. So, with the D-volume sessions, I'm doing basically taking off one working set of every movement. And essentially what I did was I pretty much just aimed to match the previous performance from the last rotation on these movements. And with me taking off the initial working set from every movement, I'm going into this set pretty much being able to easily match the performance. So you saw the first set of the lying leg curls there, which was pretty easy. So essentially I'm staying away from failure this session, and I'm also doing less total volume. So instead of going back full force, after taking those days off. And yeah, so this was the second working set here. And again, these sets were easy. It was easy to match the performance from the last session. Again, that first working, I normally do 3 working sets on these leg curls. And so, normally I would be a bit more fatigued from the first set, So it was easy to match the performance of the second and third sets from last rotation. But yeah, those felt really good. And then I went ahead and went into the stiff legs. Normally I actually would start with the adductor on this session, but it was taken, and it ended up being taken every time I was trying to use it during this session. And so I just didn't even end up doing the adductor this session. But anyways, I went into the stiff legs, and normally I will do 2 working sets on these. As you guys have seen before, if you watched the previous legs beat session I did. But, again, today just 1 working set, and so I just aimed to match performance from the last rotation, which was 475 for 8. And I did it for 8 again, and overall this was more controlled than last rotation. And another thing I did last rotation was sometimes I've been experimenting with the stiff legs by starting off the initial rep with actually kind of rolling the bar towards me. And it actually helps. It can kind of help you get that first rep off the floor. But I did not do it this session. So honestly, I think it makes it a little easier to get that first rep when you do roll it. And I know I did that last rotation. And so by not doing it this rotation, and by this weight still moving like it did, that was a really good sign for me. But overall, this was definitely more controlled than the last time I did 475. So very good sign, of course, with the extra calories, with my body weight being up some. That was not too much of a surprise there. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to, now that I'm in a gaining phase, I'm really looking forward to really pushing these up and seeing what I can get up to on the stiff legs, because I never really had a ton of good momentum on these before. There was so much inconsistency, this year. So I'm looking forward to that now. 1 working set on the leg press today. So normally, of course, I'm doing the top set and back off set, but here is the back off set. So I just did the same way I did last session, but at last session I actually did 17 continuous reps here. But this session I ended up doing 20 today, just because it was feeling much easier, which is no surprise, because typically, I'm doing that top set first, which is heavier, and of course I'm normally going to failure there, so there's a lot of fatigue going into that following set. But by not doing that initial set, of course, it makes this set easier. But I did go above the performance from last session, but 20 reps was still not even to failure. I want to say I still could have probably pushed out a few more. But yeah, it felt good, so I did. I did 20. But yeah, good sign. I know weight's definitely going to progress nicely on these now that I'm eating more and weight's coming up. Because once I was starting to get a good bit leaner there, that's when finally my lower body started to lean out some, and that's when my leg press was starting to take a hit, and the stiff legs towards the tail end of the cut. So it's going to be good to bring those back up. And then here's the glute drive, just 1 working set today. And last session I had done the same weight for the back off set, and I only hit like 8 reps, which is pretty poor. Very poor. It was very poor performance for that back off. But I was like really fatigued from the first set. But I ended up hitting 10 this session, which was good, and 10 with ease. And as you saw there, the clip cut off. Unfortunately, my dang phone storage was full, so I had to like delete some stuff so I could get this clip. I actually wasn't able to film standing calf raises, so I did also do them, but I just didn't film just because it was kind of awkward to film there and with the space, and it was kind of like, who really wants to see me do calf raises? So yeah, but dumbbell split squats, just one working set, which is what I typically have been doing, but I dropped the weight from last rotation. I had done that previously on my last legs A session. I had dropped down to the 90s, so I decided that for the legs B, I would also just work with the 90s as well and just aim to be more controlled. And I actually have been experimenting the past couple sessions with standing a little bit further away from the bench. I felt like I had been standing too close in the just previous sessions, and so I've been experimenting by being a bit further. And honestly, I don't know. I think I might still be able to, maybe I could still, I don't know, maybe I'm still experimenting on this. I'll just put it that way. I'm still experimenting with the split squats, man. They still are not like 100% comfortable for me right now. But yeah, so that was the session, guys. So all in all, very good session there. You know, I was going in that session much more refreshed and not feeling so fatigued compared to how I had been feeling this past week. You know, that last week of the diet was really rough, man, and just energy levels were very low. And so, you know, taking those 3 days off and then coming back, you know, easing back into things more so, you could say, was really nice. And so, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to now with the gaining phase, really taking progressions. And now is the time for me to really bring up the performance on all lifts. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. And, you know, the plan is to take you guys along and to film more sessions where I actually will be taking progressions, because I know some of those later videos you were seeing me have to like drop the load on a lot of the movements, you know, but now the load is going to be going up. So it's going to be exciting. And so training is going to be more enjoyable now, because I'll be honest, you know, towards the end of the diet, man, training was it was kind of like I was just having to force myself to go to the gym as well. I just didn't even want to go. And part of that too was just because like, I think my mood was down too and whatnot. So yeah, now it's going to be more enjoyable to actually train, and then of course to let you guys watch the training. So yeah, that was it, guys. Just stay tuned because we got more coming.